Good morning, everyone. So for this next project, the Branded Band Project 2, you're going to be creating what's called an identity package. And what an identity package is basically items that would include your branding. And in this case, what you guys are going to be creating, you're going to be pretending like you're developing letterhead and a business card, basically stationery, business stationery for your band's manager. So in the case of the Branded Band project, what you're going to be creating is something that might be used if, say, the band manager was trying to send a demo of the band's music to some major record labels, or to different venues so that they'll consider the band for a concert, something like that. So in this case, what we're going to do to create your project, to create your identity package, is you're going to create each of these components, the business card and the letterhead. You're not necessarily going to write the letter, you're just creating the stationery that the letter is going on, but these types of things make a big impact. The style and how things look might be eye-catching if these items are in like a stack of several of them. And the more eye-catching, visually interesting these things are, the more likely your things are going to be to stand out from a big group of other things. So if there's like 50 business cards in somebody's stack, they're going to be flipping through and, oh wow, this one's really good looking, this one's very attractive, pretty, or whatever. It stands out, and so that attention goes directly to that thing. So the first thing I want to do is show you the actual project description. What you're going to be doing for the first part of this is creating a business card design, and it can be one or two sides. It's up to you. Standard size of a business card is 3.5 by 2 inches, and I've actually included a template in Classroom for you, which we'll get to in a minute. But you're going to need to come up with some ideas. So you're going to sketch your idea in your sketchbook, or if you don't have a sketchbook, just show it on paper. But we're going to have a sketch check next class for the business card and letterhead. Your design needs to have your band's logo somehow in it. So if you haven't completed that project, you're behind, and this one actually builds on that project. So you need to have your band's logo incorporated somehow into your business card and your letterhead. And it would probably be helpful if you have the original Photoshop file, so that if you have a background, you can take the background out and just put the logo in, because like I said before, we want to make your logo, you want to make it so that you can use it on a variety of different projects. You can use Photoshop or Publisher. I've only created templates for Photoshop, so if you're choosing to use one of my templates, you'll have to do that. Otherwise, you'll have to know how to create an exact size file, canvas, for Publisher. So then you're going to need info for your business card, and I put some generic info up here that you might find on a business card. Usually the name of the person needs to go on there, the contact, what their title is. In this case, it's going to be the manager of whatever band, and your email, and you can make this up. I just put in whatever you want to have as your name at yourbandsname.com. So just, if it's like the understatements, then it might be Andy at theunderstatements.com, and then the website, theunderstatements.com, and then an address, and you can make it up. I just created 555 Unnamed Boulevard, Fort Myers, Florida 33903. And then you can get creative and come up with some sort of phone number. I just did the 555-555-5555. But when you create this, you're going to have this information on there. You're going to have your band's logo. And I have a grading rubric down here. The second half, we'll come back to this in a little bit and talk about the letterhead, but that's what you need to have for your business card. So to get started on the business card, after you've done your sketch and come up with your idea for what you want to do with that. If you go into Classroom and click on Classwork up at the top, and then go down to where it says Brand a Band and choose, or go over to the actual Brand a Band Project 2 ID package, you'll see I have that project description that I just showed you. Of course, this video will be in there as well. And you'll see a thing that says Creative Business Card Designs so that you can see some examples. And I'll actually pull that up real quick. And you can actually see some different creative cards. Now, I have a standard size template, but if you decide you want to do something different or a different shape, you can do that and kind of explain how that works within the canvas that you've created. So you might add some notes or things like that if you do that. I've actually had students create cards that have odd shapes, and we created them on the silhouette, so we were able to cut them in those odd shapes. Even something like this, where you create like a little pop-up guy that can be, it's a foldable business card. I mean, you could do something like that if you wanted. And sometimes people work with different textures. But I encourage you to look through these. These are actually some that some of my former students designed. So you can kind of get an idea of kind of what other people have created. So you can see they have their band logo, they have the name of the manager, the website, the address, all the relevant information. All right, so I'm going back to here. And to get started on the business card, we want to go down to Business Card Template. And if you right-click on that, and go Open Link in New Tab, should pop up in here, and all you're going to see is a blank canvas that's 3.5 by 2 inches. I'm going to hit Download, and it's down here. So once I click that, it should pop up in here. And I actually already had it open, so I will go ahead and close the other copy. So you can see now you have a canvas to work with, and using the tools you know how to use, like your paint bucket if you want to fill in with a color, and your text tool, and being able to add in images like your logo. I don't know if I have a logo available right now. I'll see what I have. Well, I'll just put the school's logo on for now. We'll just pretend like this is a band logo. So I'll just grab this. Let's say our band's name is The Gators. Maybe. I don't know. Wow, that's not coming up. I might have to drag it into a new window first. Oh, it's because I had text selected. So let me try this again. So let's just say that band logo is the school's logo. And you can just drag it in just like that. You can resize it once you get it in there by pressing Control-T on your keyboard, arranging it however you want, etc., etc. So you have access to the tools. You can also get really creative and do something, some sort of drawing in your design if you want. You can do some crazy stuff with your background. If I uncheck the lock over here, I can actually access the FX and do pattern overlays, and if you change the blending mode, you can get even cooler effects with those. So I just changed mine to multiply. You can change the scale and all kinds of things. So if you wanted to create some interesting textures, you could. Just make sure that your text is readable. If you want to give it a good test, ask the person sitting next to you to see if they can read the information that's on your business card. So I'm going to just pick some sort of random texture for now, and I will try to lighten it up a little bit so my text is easier to read. And now I'll just act like I've done all the work here. I've added in the text and everything. But when you're all finished, you're going to end up save it as a Photoshop file as normal. You might want to say business card template final when you're all done with it, and then you're going to save it to your documents. Some of you guys have been in the habit of saving directly to your downloads where you normally save files that you've downloaded, and since you download the template, it would default to that. But if you don't save it to your documents, when something happens like your computer isn't working, we have 3 of them right now that aren't, you might not have access to your work, and then you have to start all over again. So make sure you save to your documents folder. So consider this your forewarning that there is really no excuse for not having your work done and turned in. You can't say, oh, it didn't save or whatever because I couldn't get to it because the computer went down. Save it to your documents. It will travel with you wherever your account goes. So once you save it, that's the first part. Now this has 2 parts. It's not just a business card, but it's also a letterhead design. And for those of you who are not familiar with Letterhead, Letterhead is essentially stationery to write letters on. I'll see if I can dig up something here. Letterhead example. And you can do the same on your computers, but if you will go into here, and I'll just pull up, I like this right here. This is actually an entire identity package. So in this case, we have a letterhead, which you can see there's the logo up here, and there's like this footer element, some more information at the bottom. Let me see if I can open image and new tab and see if I can zoom in a little bit. And then they have the business card. You'll notice there's a consistent theme here. They have the same elements in the footer here that they have at the bottom of the business card. So think about that when you're creating your letterhead. Have some sort of consistent background. We do not, when you create your design, need to have an actual letter written on it. You just need to find a way to, or find a location that's reasonable for your logo and for your footer or any other information you want to include on there. Now, letterhead normally is going to have something like address information and stuff like that. So let's go back to the project overview here, and if you go down to letterhead, you can see this is the information I want you to include. So somewhere in your design, you'll want to include your address and the phone number, the same information you have on the business card, and your band's website. And usually a good place for this stuff is either right at the top or right at the bottom. And I'll tell you the benefits of having it at the top and bottom. First of all, when you're dealing with design, we naturally as human beings, well, at least in our culture, have learned to read from left to right and from up to down. So if you want to begin by introducing your brand, you might want to put it in your upper left or center area. This is what in like web design and other types of design is called putting something above the fold. Putting it in a place where if you were to fold the letter so that when you open it up you see the top first, that's above the fold. That's the first thing you see. And so it makes an initial impact. Okay, so boom, we have the band's name. Then you, if you're designing letterhead and you want to make it so that people will respond to you or know how to get in contact, you got to have that information. So you might have that up here, or you could have it down in the footer area. And a benefit to having it in the footer is to basically set it up so that you can, as a person reads the letter, they end on your address. So it's like almost like a subliminal message that's saying, you've read this letter about, how we appeal to whatever audience, and we feel that we would be a good fit for playing a concert in your venue, or feel that we'd be a good fit for your record label, or whatever. This is how you get in touch with us. This is how you call us, or this is how you learn more about us at our website. This is how you write a letter back to us. So that's pretty much the gist of letterhead, and I'll just show you the template real quick. When you go into Classroom, go back, let me open up the other browser window that I was in, and if we go back to Classwork in Classroom and then go down to Letterhead Template, the Letterhead Template, again, you right click, open link in new tab, click on the new tab, hit download, When it appears down here, open it. Now fortunately I already have mine open, so now if I go to Letterhead Template, there you go. It's 8.5 by 11, just a standard piece of paper size. And so with this, I might create some sort of header area that I can use for my, where I'll have my logo and information. I'm going to make the fill that same color I had for my business card. And I'm going to take off the stroke up here. And I could do other things with this. I could, I could use these rounded corners. I could do whatever I want with a texture or anything like that. Just for the example, I'm going to show you this. Notice it only takes up a little space up here. We don't want it too big because we have enough room to write the letter. And I can also add in effects here. So if I wanted to do a texture or pattern over the top, just like I had in my business card, I could do that. So I'll just do that for the sake of showing you guys. And the other thing is I want to add in my logo. So again, if you have it saved on your computer, you can literally find where it's saved and drag it in. Or you can go to File, Open, and copy and paste it in. And then I can place this in here wherever I want it to go. So let's say that's where I want it. And now don't necessarily do exactly the same thing I'm doing because I'm not making the best style decisions here. The text is not easy to read and whatnot, but I just, for the sake of showing you how to do this, I just wanted to show you a couple of examples / non-examples. Now if I use the text tool, I can put in the address and all that information. I could probably just go to my business card and copy the text from there and paste it in there. If I did a footer, I could do it down here, and I could find a way to organize my information down there. The other thing to consider with letterhead is a background. Now, granted, you're going to be using this to type or write letters. It's stationary, so you don't want it to be too busy for the background. So if you're doing that, what you're going to want to do is, again, you can unlock the background and you can make a copy of it. Actually, it'd probably be a good idea. So I'm going to make a copy. I'm going to right click on the layer and go duplicate layer. So I have another blank background. And then I can go in and fill it with whatever I want for the background. Now this might be too much for a background for a letter, so I could maybe tone it down a little bit by changing the opacity. Could also do something again with a pattern or texture or something like that. And I can make it really big and really faint. So now it has this like textural look to it. Another thing to consider is watermarks. And what a watermark's purpose is to basically put branding on something and say that this is property of whoever, or this letter was written by whoever. Now, when you're designing a watermark, you would normally, you could do something with opacity, which I'll show you again, like I did with the background. Or if you were really doing a watermark, sometimes what it uses is another chemical that makes the paper more see-through in a certain area. You might have seen watermarks on money, where you see hidden images within a dollar bill where it's really faint in the background. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and bring in something we'll call our watermark. We'll just do the same thing, our logo. And again, if I'm putting a watermark in here, I can just make it super faint so it's barely noticeable unless you're really looking at it. And there we go. So if this is my letterhead and I was finished, then I'd just go to File, Save As, and again, Documents, save it as whatever, letterhead final, letterhead dash whatever your name is, etc. And when you hit Save in your documents, last thing, of course, is to go back into Classroom and upload your work. And once you've turned in your work, then you are done with this project. So again, I can't urge you enough take a look at examples. You can go online. I have some links here, some different links to resources that might help you. Examples on there, or you can just Google business card or letterhead designs. So there you go. Have a good day. Happy Valentine's Day, by the way.